so, yeah, I think it's one. Okay. Try it and then once this one figures out.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant. Firstly, it's a pleasure to be with you all here this sunny evening in Manchester. I know this city quite well because my dad's a Mancunian, and as you can probably tell from my accent, I'm from Liverpool, but we can talk about football later. Anyway, I'd like to take this opportunity to debate with you what the role of deputy leader is. I've got some of my own ideas, but I'm sure you've got yours too. Because the role itself has never been clearly defined. And is it really a substitute for when the leader cannot fulfil immediate obligations? I would argue it could be something different, it could be something more. In a time when it is critical to grow the grassroots and regional branches of this movement, I believe that the deputy leader must be a voice for grassroots members within the Green Party, a voice that liaises with the regional council, represents members on GPEWs and works to develop sustainable forms of fundraising. In other words, I believe that the leader should face outwards, but the deputy leader's role mainly is to face in. It's the nuts and bolts of the party. That job is critical at a time when local parties face the twin challenges of fighting Tory-led government cuts and battling an insurgent Labour Party, which in many cases is determined not to let us challenge them from the left. But challenge them we must, because Labour left millions of people behind during their time in government. And as someone who started their political life in Liverpool campaigning for Labour, I am one of those people. I marched against the Iraq War along with 1 million other people, and I then became one of the many hundreds, if not thousands of people who joined the Green Party, not just because we are the best party on the environment, but because we understand what needs to be done to achieve social justice in this country. We know that austerity is not the answer, and millions of people in England and Wales have turned away from the Tories and Lib Dems because they too know it is not the answer. But many are turning to Labour by default, and that is why I believe we must challenge Labour from the left. And now is our time, because polls show that the public trusts neither of the two big parties on the economy. And when you look how similar their economic policies really are, that isn't a great surprise. But the question is how we challenge Labour from the left, how we challenge all parties for votes, for council seats, and ultimately for MPs. The European elections of 2014 are the next big challenge. In 4 regions in 2009, we were less than 1.3% off gaining an extra seat. A lot has happened since 2009. We have gained our first ever Green MP. We now run our first ever administration, and I'm one of those councillors. And for the very first time, we displaced the Lib Dems across an entire region in the recent London mayoral elections. So, we can implement what's been learned from all of those different campaigns to guarantee that come 2014, we won't be returning 2 MEPs as we have been doing for the last 13 years, but we'll be returning double or triple that. And we must make sure that our voice is heard on all issues, topics from the euro to immigration to jobs. So, hopefully that's given you an idea about what I want to do as deputy leader. Be embedded on our local communities, grow and diversify the party, support regional growth, get more money in, package our messages so that they're accessible to more people, and so ultimately we can get more senior Greens elected and become a real national party and political force to be reckoned with. Together, I know that we can do it. Thank you.
We're still running on time. I've got a written question that's come in from Central Lancashire, and all the candidates have had the opportunity to have a look at the written question already, apart from Will, obviously. So I'm going to take this, perhaps Alex first. If you could respond to the written question. I'm going to read it out so people know what it is. Please describe your general political philosophy, and following on from that, give 3 different policies from 3 different policy areas which you would think are urgent and important to implement, and which would be electorally popular. And you're going to have 2 minutes each for this one.
Okay, gosh. Well, I think, as I outlined, that we need to broaden the topics on which we're heard, because currently we're not heard on lots of our great policies. So the three for me would have to be jobs, housing and education, and probably in that order. So jobs, I think that we should invest in our public services. I was asking my 5-year-old nephew the other day what he wanted to be when he grows up, and he said, I want to be a police officer. And I had to turn around to him and say, sorry, they're not recruiting at the moment, you'll have to change your ideas. Also the Green New Deal and the living wage, which has worked really successfully in Brighton and Hove, where we've now upped the living wage, or the minimum wage, which was £6.59 and now is £7.19. Housing, in Brighton and Hove again, as a council member running that administration, we have invested in council housing, so I think we should build more council housing. We need to cap rents. We need to bring empty properties back into misuse, which again we've successfully managed to do in Brighton and Hove. Young people under 25 are being massively victimised at the moment with the housing benefit system, and so we need to, our voice really needs to be heard for those people as well. I'm a teacher, I teach French and German, so education's really dear to me. I think we need to invest in our education, both secondary and primary schools, but also looking forward at university and other options, such as the words come out of my head. Anyway, but basically the privatisation of our education system with academies, with free schools, needs to be reviewed, and our stance on tuition fees, I think, particularly is attractive to young people, and they're a sector of our community that I think that we should engage with, because they're an easy target for you, if you like, but also people who don't go on to education but take other routes, and those options need to be open to them, apprentices and so forth. That was the word I was missing. Thanks.
Well, firstly, to answer the point on my political philosophy, as I said, I don't come from a political background, and I've sort of made it up as I went along, really, just looking at my experiences with my friends and my family. And really what's become clear to me is, the Green Party, it is a party of the left, it is a party of social justice, absolutely, but where we are completely unique is we link that in with environmental justice, which we must do. So that's me. Social and environmental are intimately linked, and we mustn't forget that. And we need to be positive. So coming on to the policies, I'm on the National Policy Committee. I've done a lot of work on policy. One of the reasons I'm standing is that I am frustrated that we've got brilliant policies and we're not getting them out there. And that's something that I want to work with local parties with, which I have been doing already, to just help you. This is what we've got. This is what we can do in your area. This is the campaign we can help you with. And there's some really exciting stuff that we can do there. Picking 3 policies is very hard, because I know about an awful lot that are really excellent, but I'm going to go for it. And I think in the context of anti-austerity, there are some really good things that we can be saying. I'm absolutely against the austerity agenda, but I think we have to come at it in a very positive way. We can't just tell people this is what we're against, we've got to tell people what we're for. Areas that I've been working on, food is absolutely vital. It cuts across health, it cuts across animals, food price rises. This is going to be a massive issue. And we've got a new food and agriculture policy, which I led with writing, and it really sells that green message, localisation, jobs, which are absolutely crucial. And actually, believe it or not, I was in Farming UK today talking about our farming policy, which you just wouldn't expect, but about localisation, local producers, so that message can really go out there. Housing, absolutely. Where I live in Islington, Darren Johnson, our Assembly member, has done a study of house prices and rental prices around London. But to have a 2-bedroom flat, you need to be earning, to rent, £72,000. Yeah, it's absolutely shocking. This is a crisis. And again, we can create jobs and we can build the kind of housing that is well insulated, and it's going to save people money and it's going to save carbon. It's bringing that together that's really important. And finally, transport.
Thank you.
general political philosophy, green. The thing that I love about our policy is the way that we hang everything off the environmental agenda, because at the end of the day, whether you're left, right or centre, we've got one planet to live on, we have got one environment that we have to live in, and we have to make sure that we take care of it, otherwise it doesn't take care of us. I think that's the general philosophy that we all have, and that feeds through all our policies, which I guess really makes it quite difficult to pick 3 areas to talk about beyond that. If we did, I think that the one that I think that everyone else has agreed so far is housing. Housing is a critical issue wherever you are in the country. Parts of London are incredibly unaffordable. My stepdaughter is living down there at the moment, and she and her friends are sharing 3-bedroom flats at I think £500, £600 a month. It's gone up to about £800 because they weren't too far from the Olympic site. So they've actually had to move out, as have a lot of other people around that area, to be honest. But when you look at other parts of the country as well, I think we need to be talking about building more affordable homes. If you look at rural areas in particular, you find a lot of villages are in decline. You find people moving away, young people haven't got jobs, they can't afford to stay in the villages, the numbers go down, the services are no longer so well used, so the local authorities start to withdraw those services, and you end up with a downward spiral. I think that's something that we really need to address, and it was something we could look at by providing more affordable housing in the area, and making sure it's decent standards as well, and making sure there are decent building regulations as well, so that we're using the right materials. Another area that I'd like to see looked at is health, and particularly older care. My mother-in-law died earlier this year, and she was in a care home for some time. And the cost, when you come to look at this, is astronomical. You would not believe the amount of money if you haven't been involved with it. Now, I'm talking about rents in London, £500–600 a month. If you're in a dementia care home, then you're looking at £600, £700, £800 a week. And when you look at trying to sell your house to pay for that, well, it's fine if your house is worth £300,000, £400,000, £500,000 being the Tory party, and your house is worth millions. I'm sure that will keep you going in those, be able to pay for that for years. Oh, sorry. Okay, but I think that's an area that we really do need to look at, care in later life. And if I pick the third one, then again it will be transport. But I think I'll come back to that later.
Okay, I don't know everyone here, and we're going to take questions from the audience. We're going to take them in groups of 3. So if the first 3 people who want to ask a question, if you're on the edge of your seat, can you put your hand up and tell me who you are first, and then tell me the question. Perhaps you can make your individual notes. Okay.
Okay, I've got to go early. I'm Steve from